I want to welcome you to the Ask Jeff YouTube channel. Here's today's question. When God divided up the nations at Babel, did this include the American Indians? Well, this is a great question because we go back to the book of Genesis, particularly chapter 11. There's this famous story about the descendants of Noah, his three respective children, who were told by God after the flood to, quote, go their merry ways and separate. We know the story. They did not. They came back. They built this famous tower to essentially tell God, we don't need you. We got this. God comes down. He disperses them, confuses their languages, etc. If you were to do a very strict geographical understanding of the events therein, you would discover that the descendants of Ham went to the southern portion, what you and I today know as primarily the Middle East and or Africa, and Shem went eastward, what we know as the Eastern world, Southeast Asia, even what we might consider Russia, and then whom we know as Japheth went westward, Europe. Now, why is that important? Because the question is, okay, when he divided all those people, what about what you and I know as the American Indians? Now, again, this is a biblically based YouTube channel. So, again, I don't want to get too much into anthropology and such, but what little I do know is what you and I know as the quote-unquote American Indians actually descended from what we might call the far eastern Asian properties that came over via land bridges and such that existed then that maybe do not now. Why is that important? Because they would be the descendants of Shem. So yes, it did include each and every person. And what we see somewhat divided by massive bodies of water today may not have been so much in those days. Which brings me to my final point. There is this fascinating character in the Bible. His name is Peleg. He exists in Genesis chapter 10, which is the table of nations preceding the famous Babel event. He also exists in 1 Chronicles chapter 1. He's mentioned 2 times in the Bible, and both times it says that in his day, the land was divided. Now, was that mean just the languages of Babel, or did that literally mean the lands? At the end of the day, in Genesis chapter 11, when Babel was split, all of the populace was centered in a place called Babel because the Bible says that's where they were. As they dispersed themselves to the east, the west, and the south, obviously they would have had the means to get to other places, and it is possible, and I think biblically allowable, that the descendants of Shem made their way to what we now know as the Americas, and were, yes, a part of the whole Babel story. Great question. If you have one, send it to AskJeff.net. Maybe your question will be tomorrow's. Thanks for being a part of today's daily question. Now, we answer a question each and every day. Please feel free to submit a new question at AskJeff.net. We may not have gotten to yours today, but we eventually will continue to be a part of this. Subscribe so you don't miss out on a question every day.